Hello my amazing people, welcome back to the channel. Now in this video I'm going to show you how you create your first landing page using the free version of Elementor, and I'll also show you how you can integrate this landing page with an autoresponder like MailChimp so that you can start collecting your leads for free using that platform. See you in the video. Now the beauty about this tutorial is that you won't need to buy any other secondary plugin in order for you to collect your leads into your autoresponder. In this case I'll show you how to integrate this landing page with your autoresponder, and I'll be using MailChimp, the free version. So if you have MailChimp, you're good to go, but at the same time, you can integrate with other autoresponders. Now this is how our landing page is going to look like, what the landing page is about. In this case, I'm giving away my WordPress beginner toolkit, and this is what I'm going to be talking about in that toolkit. They're able to read more, and that means by clicking on this button, they are taken directly to the next section so that they can read more. If they simply want to download or access the lead magnet, they can simply just click over here and they will be redirected to a new sign up form on a new page, just like this over here. Or they can simply just use this sign up option over here. And also they can easily use this download button over here to access the same sign up form so that they can access this lead magnet over here. So now let's get started. To get started, the number one thing we have to do is, of course, we have to get back to our dashboard in our WordPress website. And when we go to the plugin sections, you realize that I only have Elementor, the free version. So I'm going to go to the pages and I'm going to start by creating a new page. I already have this existing page that I already created, which is toolkit. Then the next page I'm going to create, or the new landing page we're going to create, let's call it like landing, edit with Elementor. And once I edit with Elementor, now it opens up in Elementor. What we need is basically to have a blank canvas so that we can create everything from scratch that is going to be on our landing page. I'll simply just come over here to settings, then come over here to page layout, then I'll select Elementor canvas. Now I'll have a very clean canvas for me to start building whatever I want to build. Now we're going to start by creating this first section over here. We'll add a background image, and also later I'll add some text over here. So what I'm going to do is simply add a section, one column section, and I'm going to make it to be having a minimum height, and that minimum height is going to be 350. Next thing what I'm going to do is to make these two columns by duplicating this column. And I'm going to add a title over here. So I'm going to add a title, and after the title I'm going to add some icon box and then two buttons. So I'm going to come back here to the widgets, look up for the icon list, and then I'm going to come back to the widgets. I'll search for some buttons, so I'll get buttons, add them over here, and I'll simply duplicate these two buttons. Right over this side, I'm going to simply add an image. Let me first close my navigator because I don't need it at the moment. So by closing it over here, I'll come here to the widgets, and then I grab my image widget. I'm going to come over straight here, add my image, and this is the image I'm using over here. Okay, let me just make it like 300 by 300. Next, what I'm going to do is to add a background image. So I'm going to select the whole section, come to the style. I'm going to add a background type, and that is going to be this image. I'm going to make this image to be fixed on scroll. When you look over here on our landing page, you realize that when I scroll, this image is fixed, and at the same time down below here. So let's come back here. We're going to make it one cover, and then attachment fixed, something like that. Now we're going to add our gradient. Come back here to our main section. We're going to come to background overlay, come to gradient, and we're going to simply mix up our gradient. Okay, so I already have that color. Then I'm going to make it a little bit darker by coming over here to the opacity, make it something like that. I think I made it like 0.95. I'm going to change the gradient angle. So I'm going to simply just come over here, come to the angle, and then I switch the gradient. So in this case, the blue was the other side. So I can simply just come over here, switch up the blue to come over this other side. Okay, and then I can also change the location of the colors to have a dominant color. So that can go back to how you want it to look like. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is, we are going to add some shape divider, just like you see over here. So we're going to come over here, select our section, scroll down here, come to the shape divider, come over here to the bottom section, come to the type, then we're going to select waves brush, and that's how we happen to have our shape divider over here. I'm going to just add some little bit customization. This is supposed to be 130 and down is going to be just 90. Now we're going to work on our text. So working on our text, we're going to simply just select over here our heading, and we're going to make this to be our title, which is WordPress Beginner Toolkit. WordPress Beginner Toolkit. And after that, we are going to go over here to style. We're going to add a color, which is supposed to be white. And then we're going to come to typography. We're going to select our typeface. In this case, I used PT Sans. So let's say PT Sans. And I kind of increased the font size to be a little bit bigger. So WordPress Beginner Toolkit. So something of that sort. Then over here on the icon list, on this widget, I'm going to simply add the items that we are, or whatever is included in the toolbox someone's going to access. I can simply just come over here, add my items, say, domains, we say site builders, SEO, we can talk about marketing, talk about web hosting, security, etc. You can also make changes to the icons of these specific items. So by coming over here, you access the icon library. Like for security, simply just say, searching over for security, what can we use over here? Maybe you can get a padlock, something of that sort. And that's how we happen to have different icons for different things. For example, web hosting, you can search like for web or host. Let me just use this random icon, and that's how we happen to have that. Then what we're going to do is we want our icons to be in line, something of this sort. Come over here to style, and we want to make sure that our icons, color of the icon is going to be this, and our text or whatever our wordings are is going to be in white. And that's how we happen to have something of this sort over here. Then for our buttons, we're going to make sure that our buttons have our styling. Here its default is white background with blue for the text, and on hover it changes over to black and orange. So we're going to come over here to our buttons, style. First, before we're going to first add, wait, this button just shifted to the other section. First of all, we have to rename, say read more, and we are going to come over here to the style. We're going to make our text color to be blue and the background to be this orange. Actually, the background is supposed to be white for this. And then we're going to give it, and then for the border radius, we're going to make it 30 so that we have rounded borders. Now let's go to the hover options. Then for the text, remember when you hover over here, we have the orange as the background or yellow as the background, and then the wordings are supposed to be in black. So text is going to be black. And then we are going to add the background, something of that sort on hover. Let me just make it dark black so that it stands out. Now the same, we are going to do the styling for our other button. Coming back over here, I can even just come over here like to this editor, and then I simply just copy the style. So I can say copy, come here to what I'm doing now, I just paste the style. You see how I can borrow a style from another place to this other new section. I can now add an icon for this button, which is supposed to be download. This is what I used, but you can use any other, and then you can make it to be after. Yes, everything is just as it's supposed to be. It has rounded borders. When you come over here to the style, you realize it has rounded border radius. I think let me just also make it 50 this side to be uniform. Now we are going to move this button to be on the same, or to be in line with this other button. So what we are going to do is simply select the first button. We're going to come to advanced. We are going to go to positioning, and we are going to come to width, and then we're going to say inline, and that automatically moves our other button to be on the same line with this first button. Now we're going to add some padding. Come to style by selecting that first button, come to advanced. After selecting the first button, we're going to unlink, and we're going to select the EM. I prefer to use the EM measurements, and we're going to add just one on the right hand side, and that's how we happen to have our button over right here. Now the other thing we're going to do is, for now, we are going to first save as a draft, and we're going to preview our landing page. Looks pretty good. We're going to reduce a little bit on the width so that we have basically, something like this. So what we're going to do is come back here to our editor. We're going to select the whole section, come to layout, and we're going to give it 1000 for the whole width. Now let's preview. Boom. Now it looks a little bit more tidy and intact. When we come over here to this page, what we created before, you realize that this icon or the image simply just scrolls down below. But before we go into fixing it into that position, let's create the other section. What I did was simply to just duplicate this, and then I simply just had to remove the background image, removed the background overlays and everything, and then I just cleared this. I made the background color to be simply white, and then we went to the shape dividers and removed the shape dividers, and we simply just had something of this sort. Then I also deleted the image over right here, and then that's simply how we have something of this sort. Now I added this title and then the text. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to come over here, then I'm going to simply just come to widgets, grab our title widget, and I'm going to add my text over there. Then I'm going to also add some text, which is down below here. I'll just simply copy that text, come over here to my editor, get my text editor, and I paste my text. And now what I'm going to do is simply just change the color for this, style, color. Okay, now what we're going to do is delete whatever we don't need. Don't need this. We also don't need these buttons. Okay, now next what we are going to do is to add over here our opt-in form or our subscription form that is linked to MailChimp. You must have created it already in MailChimp, I mean your sign up form. So what I'm going to do is simply just come over here, get my HTML widget, drag it over right here. I'm going to come to MailChimp, and I'm going to come over here and select my audience. I'm going to go to sign up forms. Under sign up forms, I'm going to come over here to embed forms. But what I'm interested in is basically something that is classic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to not include the title, and I'm going to come over here and then I copy my code. I'm using the free version of MailChimp. So in case you want to create your sign up forms in MailChimp, you can use MailChimp to up to 1,000 subscribers, and that's when you have to get a paid account. So after copying my HTML code, I'm coming back here to select my HTML widget. I paste my HTML code over here, and that's how I happen to have this. Okay, we have this, we have that, and it looks a little bit more familiar right now. So when I preview these changes, okay, let me first save as a draft. Okay, now this is our preview or our draft page. And then now you see that we are somehow on the right track. Then I realize these wordings, they're taking up a little bit more space. I think I should reduce a little bit more on this. So I come over here, going to come here to the typography, and I'm going to reduce on the font size a little bit. So I can just leave it something like that. Next, what I'm going to do is to create our last section. I'm simply going to duplicate this section. I'm going to grab my navigator and I'm going to collapse the first section and the very last section. So I'm going to carry our section that we just duplicated to go to the bottom, and I'm going to simply rename this just first section. I'm going to rename this second. I'm going to rename this third section, or section 3. So now we have section 3 down there. Now what we're going to do is very simple. We are going to I'm going to delete this image, and I am going to come over here and then I'm going to make some changes to the shape. So by selecting over here on the section, I'm going to come over right here on the style, come to shape divider, and I'm going to switch the shape down below here, which is the wave brushes. I'm going to switch it from bottom and I'm going to make it to be on the top. So what I'm going to do is simply say none at the bottom, come to the top, and I'm going to simply select the wave brushes, and then I'm going to just put in the same settings, 130 and 90. Okay, now we have our wave brushes way up there. Now next, what we're going to do is now we're going to create, just this section over here, adding some buttons and this kind of text here. So what I'm going to do, just edit our title, add it's free, and delete this. Now we stay with only 2 of these. Now what we're going to do is delete the very last column, so that we simply just have 1 column, and we're going to select our text. Let me first hide the navigator. I'm going to come here, select my text widget, come to advanced, come to positioning, come to width, and I'm going to say inline, and boom, now I have my button in the same line as our text. I'm going to select my column, and then I'm going to come over here to vertical alignment and I say middle, so that we have everything in the middle. Now what I'm going to do is to select now our heading widget, come over here to advanced. I'm going to simply unlink the value so that I can add some padding. I'm going to select EM, and I'm only going to add padding like 5. Now coming back here, you realize that our button is a little bit bigger. So what I'm going to do, come over here, select our button, and I'm going to just simply make it large. After selecting our button to be large, I'm going to come over here, select a widget, which is a text widget, just going to be below. I'm going to paste that widget. I'm going to paste our text. I'm going to come to style. I'm going to change the text color, and I'm going to come to typography, and I'm going to reduce the typography. Let me make this to be in EM. I'm going to just make it like 0.8. Then I'm going to move our button back up here. Okay, simply to be in the same line with our heading. Now when I come over here, save draft, then we are going to preview. Okay, now we have our first section done, second section, and boom, we have our very last section. So how do we have our image, just this image over here, to float or to be fixed to that position, and whenever someone is scrolling, they're basically seeing our toolkit. Okay, so what I'm going to do is simply come back over here, select my image. I'm going to come to advanced. I'm going to come to positioning. I'm going to say fixed positioning, and I am going to make sure that this positioning, and first of all, I'm going to change the horizontal orientation to be on the right, and I'm going to change the offset. Let me make it to be in the view width, just to make it somewhere like that. And then for the vertical, I'm going to make it just be somewhere here, the vertical orientation. Now when I scroll, you see that it's now moving with the whole page. To have our image just float at the back on the second section, we are simply going to select our second section, and I'm going to come to advanced, and I'm going to give it as an index of 1, and boom, automatically we have that image show up at the back. What I'm going to do is simply now save our draft, and then we can preview our page. Boom, there we have our page. Scroll and scroll. Awesome. Now let's do a fix on our buttons. You see, when I click over here on this button, it takes me to the next section. Now also when I click on the download button over here, it takes me automatically to the page whereby someone has to subscribe and then they receive my toolkit into their inbox. So how do you do that? Number one, come back here to our section. I'm going to select first of all the button for download, come back here to content. I'm going to say load. How do we make sure that this button is linked to our opt-in form in MailChimp? I'm going to come over here to MailChimp. I'm going to come to sign up forms under the same email list. I'm going to come over right here to the form builder, and under the form builder there is a sign up form URL. I'll select that sign up form URL. I'm going to come back here to my editor, paste my sign up form URL. Now you can choose whether to have this, open up like in a new tab or just leave it opening up in the same tab. I prefer to open it up in the same tab, so I'm simply just going to leave it just there. The same I'm going to do on the very other button, and over here I'm going to make changes to the text, download, and that's it for now. Now what we are going to do, we have already now published our page and probably it's live. But before we go and preview how our live page looks like, what we're going to do is we're going to first link up this section so that when someone clicks on this section, they're automatically taken to the next section. So how do we do that? We simply just come over here, we select other section where we want that person to be taken, select that section, come over here to the CSS ID. So the CSS ID shouldn't have any space, and it should just simply have to be a word, a description. It can be a word without a pound sign, and it shouldn't have any space. So I can simply just make this to be info. I'm going to come here to my button for read more. I'm going to come here to content. I'm going to add a pound sign just as it is without any space, and there I am. So I'm going to simply update. I'm going now to come to our landing page or the preview page. When I click now here, boom, I'm taken straight to the next section. Now what else are we supposed to do when we look on our first landing page? It looks really fine, which is the toolkit one, download buttons, opt-in form, and over right here we have our very last section. Now when we go over here and we simply just look at our live page, the live page is supposed to be called landing. See how it looks like. Image, opt-in form, and we have everything just like we wanted it to be like. The other thing you have to look into, or that you have to focus into, is having your landing page mobile responsive. So how would you do that? We're simply just going to come over here to the responsive settings, select the tablet, and now we can make some changes over here to make sure that this landing page is actually mobile responsive. So what we're going to do is, number one, we're going to select our image, and we're going to come over here to the offset, and we select the view width. We're going to move it a little bit more to the right, and now we're going to select this column. We're going to come to advanced. We're going to first of all unlink, and we're going to add some padding right over here on the left hand side with the EM. So I'm going to simply just say like maybe a 2, or we can also give this column more space to take up, or a bigger percentage. So by coming over here to the layout, we can make this to take up 60%, and then we can also add some more padding, maybe something of like a 2 of the EM. So 60% looks now a little bit more, but we can also pad it up on the right with maybe a 2, something of that sort. Next section, we are going to select that section. We're going to select, we simply just unlink the values, select EM, and what we are going to do is we're going to add some padding. So at the top I'm going to say 1, right 2, bottom 1, left 2, something of that sort. Come over here to the very last section. We're going to select the whole section. We're going to come here to the padding. We're going to unlink, and we're going to just simply add a 2 on the right and 2 on the left, and something just like that. Update. Next, now we're going to look into the mobile settings. the mobile settings, we're going to work furthermore. What we are going to do is we can even like hide this image so that it doesn't appear. So we're going to select that image itself, come over here to the advanced, go to responsive, and we're going to say hide that image on the mobile, and then we're going to select this section and we're going to reduce a little bit, or basically remove the waves. So come over here to the shape divider, bottom. You see we already have the mobile settings enabled, so we are going to do some changes. Like, let me say the height, that is reducing a little bit the height. The width doesn't make any changes, and this looks a little bit fine, but we can also make some changes on the typography by reducing a little bit on font size, and also the text font size can be reduced a little bit. The same for this other shape. We're going to make sure that we reduce the height of the waves. So I'm going to pick up my navigator because I can't select this section at the moment. Come over here, select the last section or the third section, come right here to this style options. We come to the shape divider, we're going to reduce the height. Like, I can even just come over here and try to see how much I applied on the height. Here it's 43. I can do the same. I can just simply come and make it 43. And I can also add some padding at the top and bottom. So come over here, advanced, I can say padding top and bottom. I'm going to make it a 1. So top I think is enough. And I can also further reduce a little bit on this, the button size and the text, or you can even move these two to be on the same line. You can do whatever you want. At least now you have an idea how that works like. You can also further reduce on the font face of the title. Now when we head back here to the desktop view, you can simply see, now let's go and preview our landing page. Boom, that's how it looks like. Under pages, you realize that we have our page called landing, and now this is the page for our landing page. Now this is the URL that you can always share with people, or basically add in your link descriptions or on your website so that they can easily sign up on that specific landing page. Now the other thing you can do is that you can save these sections. You can save these sections as templates in your Elementor, or even the whole page here as a template, and you can keep reusing it in your Elementor website. So in a nutshell, that's how you can build your first landing page using Elementor for free with only the free tools available. In the coming video, I'll also show you how you can create your first landing page using Elementor Pro, and that means that we'll only use the tools within Elementor, integrating with MailChimp, and also even like adding a contact form and a lot more. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video brought you value. Now, in case you're new to the channel, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And if you like the video, please give it a like. It also helps me out. And also, if you have any questions or comments, let me know down in the comment box below. Otherwise, I wish you the very best. See you in the next video. Goodbye.